Thank you. It's great to be here at the premier Roswell Park Comprehensive Cancer Center, the only comprehensive cancer center in upstate New York, as we celebrate today's exciting announcement. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge some of the special guests that we have here today. Governor Andrew Cuomo, thank you. Roswell Park Cancer Institute President and CEO, Dr. Candace Johnson. New York State Assembly Member Crystal Peoples-Stokes. New York State Assembly Member Sean Ryan. City of Buffalo Mayor Byron Brown. City of Niagara Falls Mayor Paul Deister. Roswell Park Chief of Strategy, Business Development and Outreach, Dr. Thomas Schwab. Roswell Park Department of Immunology Chair, Dr. Kelvin Lee. And the distinguished members of the Roswell Park Board of Directors. Thank you all for being here. Today, we are taking the next step in the administration's commitment to strengthen life sciences in New York and leading the fight against cancer. In New York, cancer is now the second leading cause of death behind heart disease. Each year, nearly 110,000 New Yorkers learn they have cancer, and tragically, around 35,000 of them die of the disease. These are sobering facts, and exactly why Governor Cuomo and his administration are leading the fight against cancer and pursuing expansive actions for research, prevention, detection, and treatment for all cancers. Just this summer, my team from the Department of Health was here in Western New York, specifically Buffalo's East Side and Western Cheektowaga, I'll get that right, Cheektowaga, thank you. One of the 4 communities selected as part of the governor's cancer research initiative to examine cancer trends and the potential causes of cancer in communities in 4 regions of our state. The study builds on our commitment to tackling the scourge of cancer in the state, including expanding access to breast cancer screenings. And at every step of the way, we are working with the cutting-edge researchers here at Roswell Park. New York State and Roswell Park have a long history of leadership in pioneering innovative research and cancer development. That connection was especially evident during the governor's trade mission to Cuba in 2015. During that trade mission, Roswell Park and the Havana-based Center for Molecular Immunology reached a deal to develop a new lung cancer vaccine and perform clinical trials here in the United States. And today, under the leadership of Governor Cuomo, we are taking the next step in that partnership to ensure that New York continues to serve at the forefront of cutting-edge research and lead the fight against cancer. Please join me now in welcoming the President and the CEO of Roswell Park, Dr. Candace Johnson. Thank you.
We did this. We really did. So thank you, Dr. Zucker. I really appreciate, and Governor Cuomo. I mean, he's the man, is he not? I mean, you are. So it's good to be back here. We were here 2 years ago to announce the bringing of Simovax to this country, the starting of a clinical trial. Well, the phase 1 clinical trial is over. The results are promising. They're being presented as we speak in Toronto. And so we're moving forward, and it's so exciting what's been happening. And it's taken a long time, it's taken a lot of hard work. But you know, it really started with the vision of a governor of the state of New York who thought that there could be biotech and other development, economic development between our 2 countries, the United States and Cuba. So he put together a trade mission, and think about this. In 2015, President Obama was president. He had not visited there. The doors were really not open in Cuba, and it was a very bold move. And so he invited me to go, and I invited Dr. Lee. And so the 2 of us, with a bunch of prestigious individuals from around the state flew to Havana. It was quite a trip because there was no one had ever done this before. And so we made history there, and that was really Governor Cuomo's vision. And while we had a scientific collaboration through Dr. Lee since 2011, it was difficult. We would transfer, we'd go to scientific meetings, they would come here when they could get permission, but it was really the trade mission that it took a spotlight and put it on us. We decided we were going to go for it and try to see if we could really do something significant with the CIM, or the Center for Molecular Immunology, and we did. We did it. And so it all started with the trade mission, and it's so appropriate that we have come full circle back here today. And we're not here today just to say, oh, the clinical trial is finished, oh, isn't this wonderful what you guys are doing. Today, I want to announce, and this was after 3 long years and some hard work, and I'll acknowledge these people in just a minute, but we now have the first ever in the history between Cuba and the United States, a biotech joint venture between our 2 countries, our 2 institutions. It's amazing. And that was really lots of hard work by Dr. Schwab, Mike Sexton at Roswell Park, Doug Plessinger, the Aiken Gump people, Wynn Siegel and Melissa Schwartz are here today. We needed help for this. We were going to a place no one had been, and we were going to try to do a venture to develop these innovative therapies, bring them back to the United States, make them available for the citizens of the U.S. It's not an easy task, and so thank you so much for all the hard work, the numerous visits. I think Tom has been to Cuba more than 30 times, sitting, meeting. We weren't on the beaches there, I'm telling you. So this sort of moment is so important because Simovax is already on its way. We're very excited about it. And it's been given to people all over the world with very great success. But there are other drugs that the Cubans have in their pipeline that we're going to be bringing to the United States. We're going to be looking at them from a research perspective through Dr. Lee's support and guidance, and then we're going to be applying them to clinical trials to bring them to this country, to the cancer patients here. And so we're so excited. I'm not sure that when at the trade mission that I really thought that this was going to end up, that we'd be in this spot, but we are. And it's an exciting time for Roswell Park. We can all be proud because so many of you in this audience contributed so much to this. This took so much work to get all of this going, so thank you so much. And, I know that, the governor said, no, you did this, you did this. Well, we did this, but we couldn't have done this without Governor Cuomo's support in giving us that first opportunity and allowing us to sort of have that spotlight shown on us. And he's been so supportive of Roswell. And, he is an amazing man. He's done so much for this state. And it's my immense pleasure to introduce the governor of the state of New York, Governor Cuomo.
Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be back in Buffalo. It's a pleasure to be at Roswell. And let's start by giving Dr. Candace Johnson a real champion's round of applause because what she did. She is a rare combination. She is a dreamer, visionary, but then she combines it with an implementer, manager who gets something done. And that is the magic combination. Having a great dream, but being able to bring it home. And that's what Dr. Johnson and Tom Schwab and Kelvin Lee did. So let's give them another round of applause. Dr. Howard Zucker, who's just a great public servant, great health commissioner. Doctor, thank you for being here. Let's give him a round of applause. Mayor Byron Brown, Sean Ryan, Crystal People-Stokes, pleasure to be with you. Mayor Deister, let's give them all a round of applause. Today, to me, I come at it from a little bit of a different perspective. I'm a little more reflective today, and I have a little different context. You are all scientists. You deal with facts and data and analytics. I'm a politician. I don't need facts and data and analytics. They just get in the way. I deal with emotion and clouds and instinct. But in many ways, this story comes full circle, as Dr. Johnson said. But she spoke about a story in a relatively short period of time, Trade Mission 2015 to today. The story goes beyond that, and the story has a broader context and a broader perspective. I started coming to Buffalo 1983. I was 26 years old. My father had become governor, and Tim Russert was the press secretary. Tim Russert was a great Buffalo boy. And he was my buddy, and we were both in our 20s, unmarried, and I'll leave it at that. And we would come to Buffalo quite frequently, and Tim knew Buffalo like nobody else knew Buffalo. And we'd go to all the neighborhoods, and the tour of every neighborhood would always end up with a stop at the neighborhood bar. And Tim knew everyone in the neighborhood bar. He also had a capacity to consume alcohol like no other man I met. He had a special liver and kidney system, I believe. But I fell in love with Buffalo and the people of Buffalo and the pride that Buffalo had in itself and what Buffalo did for the nation, what Buffalo did for the state, what it did for the world, what the steel mills built. Roswell, what a beautiful monument to Buffalo. 120 years ago, the New York State Legislature provided $10,000 to Roswell, the first medical facility in the nation dedicated just to cancer research and curing cancer. What a magnificent piece of history. What a beautiful vision. And it was here in Buffalo. My father loved Roswell. He'd love to tell the story about Roswell and what it meant and what it did. State's always been a proud partner with Roswell. And it really was, in many ways, one of the jewels of Buffalo and Buffalo's history and what Buffalo has done. The question then became, it's not about yesterday, it's about tomorrow. What are we going to do tomorrow? And Buffalo was stuck for a number of decades, and this is who we were, and this is what we were, but didn't have a vision or a plan to get to tomorrow. And that went on literally for decades. And for me as governor, who doesn't have to deal with facts and analytics, I have been consumed with what is the vision and the plan for tomorrow for Buffalo? What is the future? You can't live on memories of yesterday. You live and you grow on a plan for tomorrow. And that's what we have been working on for the past 7 years. And it's hard because it requires risk. It requires vision. It requires forming partnerships with people and collaborations. You have to take a chance. Maybe you're going to fail, and that's risky, especially if you're in politics. So you have an advantage. You can do trials, and trials fail. But that's okay. That's why you called it a trial, right? You can't do that in politics. There are no trials. They're just blunders, right? So you tend to avoid those. But in Buffalo, we did something different. We said we're going to go for it. Fortune favors the bold. And we invested, and we came up with a plan for the future, and we're implementing it, and it's growing, and you see signs of Buffalo growing everywhere. The Buffalo Niagara Medical Campus, which I would argue was birthed by Roswell, by the way, over the past few years, doubled, now 16,000 employees with Children's Hospital and Jacobs Institute, et cetera. So it's been a phenomenal success. Not every step, every investment works out. People disappoint you, but you have to be willing to fail. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, great governor, great president. His point was, you try it, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You come back and you try something else. But you have to have that courage and confidence to be able to take the setbacks. And I applaud my colleagues in government for having the confidence to do that. Mayor Byron Brown is extraordinary that way. Politicians are normally not risk takers. And he's done a magnificent job, and the legislators for funding it. And the trade mission to Cuba was very much in that milieu. President Obama said we want to open up trade with Cuba. Nobody knew what that meant. But I said, well, we should be the first ones there. And they said, why? What is there? I said, I don't know what is there. But maybe something is there. I don't know, but nobody knows, so why don't we go find out? And I remember my staff was very tepid about the whole idea, and the press was tepid about the idea, and the press, because they have to bring that cynicism. I can say it, my brothers in the press, you really have to have a side of cynical, skeptical side to your personality to do that job, which he does in a very strong and profound way. I would test genetics for cynicism. I think there is a gene that brings that to people. But they said, well, what are you going to get done? I said, I don't know if we're going to get anything done. The only clear goal that I wanted to accomplish was to see if I could figure out how to get a couple of cigars to bring back to New York. But I couldn't say that. But other than that, there was no clear goal. But it was, well, we'll try. And let's go and let's get there first. And we brought an assemblage of people, airline company that wanted to try to be an airline, the first airline to open up, Cuba. Chobani Yogurt to try to open up the Chobani yogurt market in Havana, find out if they had yogurt and liked yogurt and they would buy Chobani yogurt. High-tech companies, we had this whole, and Dr. Johnson said, you know, Cuba's doing great work on cancer research and development and prevention, and we'd love to get down there and try. I said, great. As long as you help me carry some cigars back. Yeah. And it was that courage, that vision, that gutsiness that started that trip and brought us here today. And that is leadership, that's vision, and that's what Roswell was born from. That is the yesterday of Roswell. You were the first. but it's also the tomorrow for Roswell, because you are at the cutting edge once again. And it was your vision, and it was your courage, and it was your energy, and it was Dr. Lee's foresight and Dr. Johnson's foresight. By the way, Dr. Lee wore a very funny hat for the entire trip in Cuba, which I still don't understand the significance of that. But see, in politics, you don't have to understand everything. You just let things go. But you did it, and that is the tomorrow. And I believe that Roswell and this development is going to lead to great things. I believe it will lead to great enhancement and expansion of Roswell. I think it will help Buffalo with more jobs and more companies and more economic energy. But on a more profound level than that, I believe Roswell is going to make history and be at the forefront of slaying this dreaded dragon called cancer. You have saved lives. You are in the business of saving lives. And you literally have done that, not as a rhetorical device or to be overly dramatic. You have saved lives, but you have more lives to save, and you have more work to do. This cancer is a scourge on society. And until you have met the beast, or the beast has visited your home, it's hard to appreciate how devastating cancer is. Once cancer visits an individual, it's not really about the individual, it visits the family. And once cancer is in your home, it never leaves. It's always in the shadows. It's always in the shadows of your mind. You always have that fear, that possible expectation, that God forbid it comes back, God forbid the next test. So not only does it take lives, but it can ruin lives, and it can diminish lives, and it does it to millions and millions of people. And not even if you're not affected yourself personally, but being in a family where someone is affected, I can tell you it is a terrible, terrible pain and anguish. And there is no higher pursuit in life than to help humanity and to help each other and to help each other with pain and with illness and with suffering. And that's what you do. So normally when I'm in Buffalo, I applaud an economic growth package and more jobs and more economic strength. But today it's something deeper. I believe that Roswell's history is going to be the foundation for an exciting future. And I believe you are going to do a great service to all of humanity. And I believe this is a step down that path. And I'm honored to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here this morning, and again, congratulations to everyone on the excellent work for this project and all the other things you do for the people in New York and the people in the country. Thank you very much. This concludes our program. Thank you.